It should be absolutely no surprise that for the last few months, the internet has been quite divided on whether or not Mojang has produced anything of substance for a while. Okay, yes, I am exaggerating, but it's difficult to deny that the scope and scale of Minecraft's updates have been on the decline ever since 1.18 or 1.16 depending on who you ask. If you go back and check out some of our most recent videos, you'll find that we've been very vocal about our opinions on the subject and of Mojang in general. What that doesn't change is that a couple of weeks ago, Mojang announced Minecraft 1.21, but in a very different twist from past Minecraft lives, we didn't get a name and we didn't get told a theme for this update. We were shown autocrafters, copper bulbs, and some new dungeon-esque experiences. And all of these are exciting things. In this video, we'd like to do something different. Right off the bat, we're giving Mojang a clean slate. Whether or not they deserve it is one thing, but for this thought experiment, let's give them one. Not because we've said everything that we want to say about how we've been previously disappointed, but more because why not try to see the positives? It's 2023 and we're getting updates. Let's talk about why that's good. To be clear, we're still going to give our opinion on something if it's negative, but we're not going to be needlessly dunking on them or anything. So without any further ado, let's check out how Minecraft 1.21 is coming along thus far. But before we do, I have a question for you. Do you like historical and fantasy-based vehicles, legendary tanks, a deep progression system with tank-on-tank combat? You can find all this and even more in World of Tanks Blitz. Whether you want to surge the front lines with a high-health defensive beast, or pick apart the enemy with a fast but fragile high-damage cannon, World of Tanks Blitz has you covered with over 450 vehicles, 32 maps, and 8 different game modes to choose from in order to match any playstyle that you're after. Join the free-to-play community of over 150 million players from all over the world, take a vehicle into your first big tank battle, and then take part in this season's Holiday Ops campaign featuring football legend and movie star Vinnie Jones. From unique collectibles to avatars and profile backgrounds, a huge pile of rewards are waiting for you. You'll have until December 20th to earn the final argument attachment in this 10-stage quest line, and additionally, you can also enter for a chance to become the proud owner of the Cobra tank with this legendary camouflage. But wait, there's more. As a holiday bonus for downloading, you'll get Frosty and its legendary Jingle Bell camo in World of Tanks Blitz absolutely free. Again, it's free to download, and it's available on mobile, PC, Mac, Steam, and the Nintendo Switch, so scan my QR code on screen or click the link in the description to download World of Tanks Blitz and get your legendary campaign started today. I'll see you on the battlefield. First things first, we're going to talk about autocrafters, and man, these things are cool. If you're a fan of automation, flat out, you're going to find some use for this item. Using only 5 iron ingots, a crafting table, 2 redstone dust, and a dropper, it's pretty inexpensive to make. That is, in its current state. Obviously, if Mojang wants to, they could change the recipe at any moment, but honestly, keeping it this simple makes sense. If you've ever wanted to throw 54 stacks of logs into a chest and have it craft planks, doors, sticks, all without having to touch a single thing, now that's possible. Plop them in there, go to work on something else around your base, come back, and bam! Full chest of fully crafted items. Or maybe you've got an iron farm, and you want to turn all of those ingots into blocks. You can do that too. Depending on how redstone savvy you are, your options are literally limitless. If you're somebody like Mumbo Jumbo, you can even make giant sawmills where you just click the wood type and then click the item that you want to make, and done. You have a complete sawmill in Minecraft now. Another extremely cool thing about the crafter is that when you attach a comparator to the block, very interesting things happen. A neat function of Minecraft's lectern is that when a book is placed, depending on the number of pages on the book, wherever the book is flipped to on the lectern, the game does a percentage check and then sends out an appropriate redstone pulse up to 15 blocks. If you have 100 pages and then you flip to page 50, it'll go halfway through that 15 block redstone line. If you go to page 100, you'll activate whatever's at the end of that line, like a lamp or really anything. The crafter does something similar, but only up to 9 blocks. If you fill up every single slot, it'll extend out to 9 blocks. However, the crafter also has the ability to disable slots from being filled, which is how you'd craft things like pickaxes, doors, bows, whatever you try crafting that has a direct must-follow recipe. If you disable slots within the crafter does the same exact percentage check for those 9 blocks. This is super useful because in order to spit out an item after the recipe ingredients have been loaded in, a pulse must be sent back to the crafter. This means you can send a pulse that the autocrafter puts out back to itself, and the entire system is just running purely off of the items that are loaded into it. I love the crafter. It's neat, it's cool, it's a great addition to the game. I will say this though, mods do exist that do have autocrafting, so this official in-game solution will be interesting. The Create mod has conveyor belts and things like that, but seeing Mojang adopt something like this for the game is shocking. I wonder if mod makers will utilize the autocrafter with their mods, or if they'll simply ignore it in favor of the autocrafting options that other mods offer. I will say, I would love for the autocrafter to have the ability to lock specific ingredients into specific slots in a placeholder-like fashion. If we could say, lock 1 slot to coal and 1 to sticks to make torches without having to worry about the autocrafter going through all of the items and running empty, setting up complex machines to craft specific items would be much easier. I get that's the beauty of redstone, because you can just rig up a larger redstone device to lock certain items in certain slots if you're clever enough, but for the more expensive crafting recipes, blueprints would be awesome. Some mods' inclusion of blueprints for autocrafting can make things so much easier. I just don't want to see this block getting ignored when people install mods that offer more functionality. This block might be quite simple in nature, but I really feel like Mojang have done a great job with this one thus far. It's almost perfect. Trial chambers are the newest addition to these Minecraft snapshots, and man are they neat. The best way to describe them are procedurally generated dungeons, or roguelikes, where depending on the number of players who enter and activate the spawners, the difficulty, mainly meaning the amount of mobs, and rewards are scaled. The more people, the more challenge. It's a very interesting idea, and in trying it out, we honestly had some fun with it. Also, seeing the blocks around the spawner be an indicator for which mobs are spawning is a very neat way for players to assess the potential threat before fully entering. Great choice. It's also nice to note that once you've completed the trial and the spawner deactivates, it can be reactivated 30 minutes later, so you can always come back for more. Don't break those spawners. The new mob coming with trials, the Breeze, kind of felt like, well, a breeze to get through. It was extremely easy. I feel that if the rooms that the Breeze would spawn in were more dangerous, the Breeze itself might be more of a challenge. Its main function, knocking a player back with a gust of wind, is cool, but it's easily killed in a few hits with a sword. It's very neat, not particularly difficult, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The loot of these chambers are also extremely interesting. There's a ton of mid-level loot within these things. Arrows, ender pearls, bamboo, iron, emeralds, diamonds, loads of enchanted items, poison arrows, loads of potions, fire charges. I mean, I can't complain about the loot at all. We found tons of great books and items. If you're already decked out in incredible gear, this won't be super useful, but it's nice. And it's also a place that I feel Minecraft has been lacking with quite a bit. More ways for players to get mid-tier gear and items isn't bad at all. I sincerely welcome this. The fact that these dungeons are able to check how many players are in the raid and on the fly adjust the difficulty is pretty clever. It reminds me of World of Warcraft's flex raid system from a few years back. One interesting quirk I do want to point out though is, within the rooms where skeletons spawn in close proximity to one another, they usually just spawn en masse and get mad at each other, wiping each other out while you basically don't have to do anything. It's kind of hilarious. These rooms are seriously impressive, though I would love to see more of them. It quickly felt like we were going through the same rooms over and over. I feel like if given to a good design team, they could easily crank out a bunch of more rooms. It would be such an amazing addition to the trial chambers. Seeing the mushroom and bone block combination to be an indicator for skeleton with poison-tipped arrows was a massive sprinkling of hope for the amount of variation I could see Mojang getting into with trial chambers. If Mojang continues to update these chambers with more clever variation, that would be very nice. I could even see another end-to-end variation on this exact same concept, if not pulling those mobs into the overworld entirely, purely for those rare variation trial chambers. I don't think anybody would complain. The trial chamber's main loot, which we've not seen fully utilized, are keys. These trial keys will obviously have some feature in the future, but something I'd love to see is a trial boss, where if you have a specific amount of these keys, you can access the boss, and the boss room where the fight happens can scale to the amount of players inside, similar to how the rest of the chamber works. Whether or not we'll ever see something like this, I'm not sure, but a respawnable boss with these keys could be very interesting. While we're kind of on the subject of trial chambers and transitioning, a bunch of new copper block and tough variants are now in the game. You can actually see a lot of, if not most of these blocks inside and outside of these chambers. With tough, you've got walls and chiseled variants. With copper, there's the standard block, chiseled, cut stairs, doors, trapdoors. They're really nice. I can see all of these being used quite a bit. All of these blocks are waxable, meaning they'll keep their oxidation level at whatever you'd like them to be. So that's nice. You can also now use any standard axe to scrape away a layer of oxidation. One of these new copper blocks is the copper bulb. These are extremely neat because on top of being a light source, they're essentially memory cells. Instead of your standard redstone light source that needs a constant pulse to keep it on, these are toggleable and will stay lit forever until you turn them off. No pulse required to keep them on. Attach a button, click it, and remove it, and it'll stay lit, well, until you don't want it to. Because of their ability to be charged, they're also essentially a one-block T flip-flop. I'm a huge fan of the way these work, and honestly, copper bulbs might get me back into messing with redstone again, on top of crafters, at least for a little while. Alongside all of these additions, decorated pots are also in the trial chambers, but with a few new additions. Before, they were kind of half-baked into the game, what with sherds and just being, well, pots. Now, they have a very neat function where they can be filled up with either one unstackable item or 64 of an item that stacks. The pot breaks immediately when hit, dropping the item and the pot itself. But when shot with an arrow, the pot will break into its respective sherds and you'll get the items. All in all, now the pots have a function, and that's great. I can really see these being used in a carnival-esque game and being great for narrative elements or whatever your mind can come up with. Tying the sherds into the ability to be able to store items is a great feature and is a fantastic storytelling device being built into the game. I really, really like that. The last big change to recently arrive with 1.21's beta versions is Wolf Armor and the Armadillo itself, the winner of the mob vote. The Armadillo will roll up when scared by various types of movement, is funnily enough bred using spider eyes, and when brushed by the player will drop a scute. Collect 6 of these, and you can craft Wolf Armor, which provides as much armor to the wolf as Diamond Horse Armor does to a horse. There's also the upcoming tick command, which lets you alter the tick rate of the game or outright freeze it. We may get more into detail on that in its own video. Like I said at the beginning, we're giving Mojang a clean slate here. This update has a lot of opportunities to be a great update. Don't get me wrong, I have my criticisms. Namely, I'd love to see a bigger focus on a particular concept. You know, Nether, oceans, village and pillage, things like that. So far, this feels like a collection of cool ideas, but I'm really not sure what's going to tie it all together. I hope that we ultimately end up seeing more in the snapshots with things that haven't been announced at Minecraft Live, because as great as these features are, if this is all we get in 1.21, it would be a little bit disappointing, but who knows? I'd also like to mention that if the overall structure around Minecraft updates change to where we get less big updates and more small ones, I do think that could also be pretty cool. It'd be a huge pain in the neck for modders, but more content would certainly not be complained about. I really do think that Mojang has some absolutely killer additions within this update, and I'm not sure what comes next, but I'm waiting with excitement. I hope you all enjoyed this video. My name is AntVenom, and thanks for watching.